Lewis Hamilton discovers new problem with W14. So we're gonna be going through that and 5 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is Lewis Hamilton found new concerns with the Mercedes W14. Lewis Hamilton is upset at Mercedes after his Formula One team refused to make changes he recommended after a rough 2022 season. It's about owning up and saying, yeah, you know what, we didn't listen to you. It's not where it needs to be and we've got to work. Hamilton said on BBC Radio 5 Live's Checkered Flag podcast. As Benson noted, most teams have followed the designs pioneered by Red Bull heading into the 2023 season, while Mercedes will stick with its own zero sidepod concept. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff already admitted this was a mistake after qualifying for the first race of the season, planning changes with his engineers. Red Bull Racing cruised to a team victory last year behind champion Max Verstappen, who won 15 of 22 races. Mercedes fell to third behind Ferrari, with Hamilton falling to 6th place in the final standings. The British driver had won the championship in 6 of the previous 8 years, never finishing lower than second. It was Hamilton's first season in Formula One where he didn't win a single race. The 38-year-old said he told Mercedes about the problems a year ago. Last year, there were things I told them. I said the issues that are with the car, Hamilton said. I've driven so many cars in my life. I know what a car needs. I know what a car doesn't need. I think it's really about accountability. Hamilton finished in 5th place in Sunday's Bahrain Grand Prix, with teammate George Russell finishing in 7th. The second story is Mercedes to poach Lando Norris if Lewis Hamilton joins Ferrari. With 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton yet to sign a new contract with Mercedes, the Silver Arrows have been urged by Express Sport readers to sign Lando Norris as his replacement, rather than Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Contract speculation has certainly been a talking point in the early stages of the 2023 F1 season, largely due to the fact that Hamilton is yet to sign a new deal with Mercedes, despite his current deal expiring this year. A contract was expected to be signed before the season commenced in Bahrain. However, Hamilton recently assured fans at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix that talks are taking place between himself and the team. Whilst a new deal hasn't yet been signed, the likelihood is that Hamilton will remain at Mercedes until at least the end of 2025, after reportedly wanting a multi-year extension. If something crazy were to happen, though, like Hamilton deciding to move to Ferrari, then a poll by Express Sport has shown that fans believe Mercedes should pursue Norris. 63% of the voters believe Norris is the best option for Mercedes should Hamilton leave, with XF1 driver Karan Chandhok also believing that the McLaren star should be the German's number 1 pick. The Sky Sports F1 pundit believes Norris' current contract with McLaren could be an issue, though, with the Briton being tied down to a lucrative deal that doesn't expire until the end of 2025. Looking at where they're at, and we were talking before the season of McLaren locking him in, and Zach doing an amazing job of contracting him in for that 4-year period. Chandhok said, I do wonder, and if they're smart they would have created some sort of exit clauses. For example, McLaren don't finish in the top 4 of the Constructors' Championship 2 years in a row. Is there an option for Lando to look elsewhere? Because outside of the traditional top 3 teams, you've got Fernando and Lando who are your top 2 drivers on the grid, aren't they? Should Hamilton decide to leave Mercedes, then 42% of voters believe Ferrari would be the best destination for the 38-year-old, instead of Aston Martin or Red Bull. The third story is Toto Wolff says Mercedes need to double development speed to catch Red Bull. There is absolutely no doubt that Red Bull have aced the new aerodynamic regulations, with the sides 2 cars of the new regs having been exemplary. Last season's RB18 and this season's RB19 have both been almost impossible to beat, with Red Bull having claimed 17 wins in 2022. Mercedes, on the other hand, have endured an incredibly challenging start to the new aerodynamic era of Formula One, with the side having been unable to compete with Red Bull. The Brackley-based team slipped to 3rd in the pecking order last season, while so far this year they are jostling for 3rd with Ferrari due to the sudden rise of Aston Martin. What's let the Germans down is the amount of time they had to spend last season trying to eradicate porpoising, something which saw them fall behind Red Bull and Ferrari in the development race. Given that the Silver Arrows are set to change the W14's concept in the next few races, the likelihood is that the Germans will need some time to gain an understanding of their overhaul of changes. Wolff openly admits that Mercedes are up to 12 months behind in terms of understanding the new regs due to how long they spent fixing the W13, with the team principal recognizing that we need to be perfect to catch Red Bull. I think the lag is probably between 6 and 12 months because that's the time that it took for us to figure figure out what was actually happening with the car, Wolff told the race, and that means we just need to have double the development speed, a strong development slope. Their gains are going to be incrementally smaller if the concept is mature. I think aero-wise, wind tunnel time can help a bit, but not hugely. It's just we've got to get our act together, and if we fundamentally understand where we need to put the car, then the steps are going to be large. But we need to be perfect. The fourth story is George Russell is frustrated with the finger pointing at Mercedes. George Russell says there is no culture of blame at Mercedes, insisting the team's troubled 2023 car wasn't signed off by a single person but agreed upon by everybody. It was an astonishing admission by the Mercedes boss, and one that many perceived as an indictment of sorts of the Brackley squad's engineering team. But Russell says there have been no recriminations or finger pointing whatsoever behind closed doors at Brackley by Mercedes top brass. I think in the conversations that have been had, I think many people accepted that these decisions weren't the right ones, the Briton said in Jeddah last week. But nobody is pointing fingers and blaming them for making decisions that were made with the best intentions and with the info we had. Russell says the ill-fated concept of Mercedes W14 was agreed upon at every stage of the car's development process. I think when it comes to car concepts, when it comes to decisions of where, let's say, a team of 2,000 people are going to be headed, it's never one person sort of directing that, he said. You have got your probably senior 6 technical people who work together with all the knowledge we have with everybody who's beneath them. The knowledge that is coming from the drivers, the work we've done on the simulator, and those decisions are sort of passed by and agreed upon by everybody. And we were aware of the concept, Lewis and I, and we did believe that this was the right direction. But as I said, we as a team have clearly missed something that happened over the winter, and we're working as hard as we can to rectify that now. Hamilton, however, says he made clear to Mercedes engineers that he did not believe in the W14's concept, but the team opted not to listen to his grievances and warning. I've driven so many cars in my life, so I know what a car needs, said the 7-time F1 world champion. I know what a car doesn't need. I think it's really about accountability. It's about owning up and saying, yeah, you know what? We didn't listen to you. It's not where it needs to be, and we've got to work. While the damage is likely done at Mercedes regarding the early races of this season, the team is now implementing a comprehensive plan involving upgrades and a change of concept that should allow the German outfit to turn around its fortunes by the summer. The fifth story is Mercedes will be mighty at certain tracks in 2023. Mercedes will be mighty at some tracks this season, according to its former chief strategist and current Williams boss James Vowles. After only claiming a solitary victory throughout last season, the German manufacturer's ambitions of immediately returning to championship contention have been dashed after an underwhelming start to 2023. Despite an improved showing in Saudi Arabia to finish 4th and 5th, the two Mercedes still ended up over half a second behind the race-winning Red Bull of Sergio Perez. But having been well-versed in the construction process of its W14 car before his move away, Vowles is convinced that Mercedes will be much more competitive at certain venues. There'll be tracks like Silverstone and Barcelona where Mercedes will be mighty of a result of what I know from their package, he claimed. While Mercedes struggled significantly early last year, the Silver Arrows tended to perform markedly better at high-speed circuits as it got to grips with its troublesome car. Tracks such as Barcelona, Paul Ricard, and Silverstone offered promise that it had developed a package that had the potential to win races before the Brazil GP at Interlagos in November finally delivered the breakthrough victory it had craved. The 1-2 finish it secured at the penultimate round was also a reflection of Mercedes' impressive development rate to eclipse Ferrari in emerging as Red Bull's nearest contender over the course of the second half of the season. Although Red Bull has dominated the opening 2 rounds of the current season, Vowles is backing the competition to reduce the reigning champion's advantage throughout the year. The ex-Mercedes man is confident that the reduced wind tunnel time Red Bull is entitled to, and the regulations remaining stable for 2024 will enable convergence to occur. There's 2 things. Do I think Red Bull will dominate through the season? No, I doubt it, he said. However, on balance across the season, do I think they're the fastest? Yes, but they still have a wind tunnel deficit. It's not as big as I think it necessarily should be to balance things out, but it's still there. It still will mean across the season that you'll see people moving towards them. With the rules carrying over to next year, you have to keep developing this car. Things will close up. Prior to his departure to take over the reins at Williams, Vowles had been a long-serving member of the Brackley-based squad in its various guises, overseeing 9 constructors F1 titles. That stint included being an important figure during Mercedes' unprecedented run of success during the V6 turbo hybrid engine era that saw the German Mark secure a record-breaking 8 consecutive championships. Now attempting to haul an underachieving Williams outfit up the grid in the role of team principal, Vowles admits he perhaps wasn't fully aware at the time of the extreme effort that went into maintaining Mercedes' prolonged stay at the top of the sport. Perhaps what wasn't realized, when you're internal to the team, it's full swing to achieve what you're doing, Vowles highlighted. I already said in the winter you could make just 1 or 2 key decisions, and you completely screw up the following year. And what happens normally, if you look at dominance across eras, it's across regulation changes, and the reason why you can't invest in it properly is because instead of having a few decisions to make, you have many decisions and you screw them up. It's as simple as that.